Oh, this room. It's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so... similar. You called me lazy? I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. Oh, isn't that sweet? But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So is your father all right, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why he went back to Japan, because of the telegram you received. That's right. I was so surprised to learn that you'd be coming back so soon. Surprised, but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you, that it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic Science Symposium? Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and that's all that matters is I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fully fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh. You must tell us everything. What happened while you were in Japan? Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you know who. About Cosma. I know. I'll tell you what I can. Oh my god. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Well, canonically yes, but we didn't do that. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing. I wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Runo? Yeah. I don't sound too fucking excited, dog. I want to play being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustaches could hide the fact you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Susato. All this time later, we're still calling each other Miss Susato and such. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot we found in Natsume's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Natsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw that report, he turned white as a sheet. Why would that be, then? I don't know, we've been getting teased by this for like 7 episodes at this point. Every case after like the first one. Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie. That's a very meaningful look. Uh-huh. I feel like there's not much to say about the symposium, to be honest, but Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium, too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seishiro Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo. Last year, in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours where you were accused of murder? Ah, yes. I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh. Well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed to me going on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. Impressive, but he does strike me as being something of a turbo nerd. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General, the most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. I can tell you now, it don't work. England's terrible for crime, dude. It's everywhere. He fucked it up. That's what Father said, anyway. Apparently it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Does Professor Mikatoba know Lord Strongheart personally, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to much of it. How trying for you. Giselle Brett, the woman whose unforgivable actions ended in being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett, that's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry. Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. Didn't exist? But how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin. She wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss A. Shin. Ao Shin? Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. Nobody knows why, or even how, she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. Well, yeah, she was probably planted by England, wasn't she? What could the woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. Why, I don't fucking know also, good point. But, like, that seems the most likely thing. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. And now she's been killed. While all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. A. Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that guy never made it to England, that he died on the steamship, and that he'll never. Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama. And what did you learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consulate staff there. Should have been? Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? This is what I was talking about. Remember when I was like, the dude should have just thrown the body over the edge? Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikatoba know about this? Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Burya were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. Except that he probably still is. He's likely the prosecutor's apprentice. Cast your mind back for a moment. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. Ah, you're right. Yeah, he obviously knows something's up as well. Or he knows what is up, not just that something is. So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean Sholmes had lied to us, which he's blatantly been doing. But there's no reason why he possibly would have done such a thing. I suppose that's true, or we just don't know what the reason is, perhaps. The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it, because if it turned out to not be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me. Oh, Miss Susato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Susato-san we're talking about, after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now. He is totally still alive, though. As soon as I laid eyes on the apprentice, I was like, gotta be him. It must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I called it the Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Sholmes forbid you from publishing it. Can you tell us what it was about, please, also? And then put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. So nobody knows anything about it, apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? What sounds so exciting, the Hound of the Baskervilles. And you wouldn't tell me how you came to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Finally, information. Precious knowledge. I'm only sorry I had to keep it from you for so long, Iris. It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, "The Hound of the Baskervilles." What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and... Susato, what are you doing? Oh, Father. Did you look at those papers? No, I simply read the label, that's all. Well, put it out of your mind. Sorry? Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand? But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? So, question, how did you actually link that to being the manuscript if you didn't read it? I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, oh, she said Baskerville, I see. It was a while ago, don't remember. The title just slipped out. I would have never guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Sholmes' exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions, and there was no sign of the box in his office. That's really all I know about him. I've no doubt Father had a good reason for being so secretive about it, but still, I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. Eventually. So, Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating. I've committed every detail of the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum. So, you're fully abreast of the situation already. I'd expect nothing less. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine. Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic. Then we need to go and arrest him, personally. Yes, he must know the truth behind the case, so I agree we really do need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. which is a job for the police, or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know let me know how you got on, won't you? That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb must be strong. Alright, let's make a move, lads. Where are we going? Okay, well, it said new location added, but I'm not seeing any of that in here. So, Sholmes, you downstairs? Sholmes, you in here? He is not in here. He must be at Tuspel's. Oh my, no wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery. Being scared makes you crave sweets, I can understand. What the fuck? I was looking forward to a reunion after 6 months away, but... Yeah, I've actually been in a waxworks before. They're not that creepy to be around, honestly. I guess they would be if you have that, like, specific phobia I don't know the name of. There's no sign of Sholmes anywhere. That's strange. He should be here investigating the abduction of the waxwork. No, well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Are we certain he's not hiding? You all are sometimes completely oblivious to things that are happening in the room. Okay. Well, let's go to the experimentation stage and see what's going on over here. Oh, shit! First a cat, now a dog. I had no idea there were so many people in the world. I know what you mean. It's really packed here today. It feels as though it's taken us just 2 hours to make our way through the crowds. Has it? I shut my brain down, so I didn't really notice, to be honest. That was a tremendously useful skill. I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes. There you are. Oh, fuck, I skipped it. I had a feeling you lot would show up before our mug shortly. Oh, Inspector Gregson, I see you're hard at work. Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met. What's with all the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, Sunshine, the gentlewoman so loyally at your side. Oh, why thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice. He might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart. So you've probably guessed we were hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right. Well, the young trainees don't they? Oi! Get over here, Gina. She seems to be busy playing with a puppy. Probably giving it a traditional East End training. Gina? She's a police officer now? Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Art's in the right place, anyway. She's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Yep, I think she'll follow in my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? What do you think he means? I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. Oh no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted, then? We'll come see how you're getting along. Not likely, but you're welcome to try, if you don't mind a trip to France, that is. Why are you going to France? I'll be working in the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France is an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, Sunshine. Now don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. I'm intending to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what'd become of her? I suppose he's worried she'd slip back into slipping her hands into people's pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, then. Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina, so don't go blabbing, you hear? No, of course not. Oh, I've got to keep that diver safe and sound, at least till all this is over. Oi! Did you just call me a bloomin' diving diva again? I did indeed misread that earlier. So you heard that, did you? Right, well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable detective diva here. Alright, you heard the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I should better keep my word. So, Gina, you've got a new dog, have you? Oh, yeah. Isn't he great? Toby's his name. Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's the not-so-lovely Gregson that's playing on my mind. Alright, what's the scoop? Gina. We were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? I'm gonna be playing with my new friend here. Ah, yes, Toby. Bork. The machine that exploded must be at the top of these stairs, I presume? I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you... Sorry, you can't go up there, Suze. Oh. It's like I told Oda yesterday. Even I ain't allowed near that wreck. What's it called again? Reason we ain't supposed to touch it. The special. But is that what you were thinking of? That's not in place anymore, though, isn't it? That's the one. And that's why only them lot are allowed to investigate it. What are they called again? The Forensic something? The Forensic Investigation Team. That's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that it has been lifted? I think so. I don't really get it, to be truthful with you. You're still supposed to get permission from some bigwig or other, as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something? I'm not sure that's quite right. I think you mean Strongheart. That's the one, yeah. Apparently he's always watching the time or something. So without Lord Strongheart's express permission, we can't investigate it. Well, I guess we'll be going there next. It was great, wasn't it? Oh, the right laugh. It was a new one on me, that. You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying I'm about to be found out. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in all your previous appearances, didn't you? Yeah, and Oda made things hard for me every single time. Just doing my job. But watching someone else get hit in the neck is a lot of fun, actually. It was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. The dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Naruhodo's client. Yes, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. He is very troublesome. It's the boss I feel sorry for, sent off to do the impossible. What do you mean? He's supposed to arrest the other cove, ain't he? And in time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer. What's his name again? Drebber, you mean? Enoch Drebber? That's the one, yeah. So the police are looking for this mysterious man with a black monocle. It's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. He's saying it's giving him a gut ache. Oh dear, but I wonder if that's all isn't actually from all the fried food. Ah, don't be such a hater. So Scotland Yard are trying to track down Enoch. I wonder if they had any luck. He's really funny looking. Got two eyes what don't match. Stole a glimpse of a picture earlier. I mean, didn't actually pinch it or nothing. The old devil's got it. Sorry, who? You know, that scowling reaper that's always giggling. Giggling? What the fuck is wrong with me? What's always glugging down glasses, that blood-red plonk? Oh, Lord Von Zykes. He's always had it in for me, that cove. Don't know what he's always scowling about, mind. Probably would have been a good boss as it goes. She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee. The way I see it, if the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-glugging demigod, whoa, dog, fucking relax. You don't need to be so upfront about wanting to fuck him. You're equally badly off with both. I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that. Glad we put that one to bed. Anyway, point is, everyone at the yard's dead set on finding the fishy engineer. But there doesn't seem to be any clues to go on, so they're stuck. There's nothing that can lead us to Drebber at all. Where did you find the little mutt then, Gina?
Oi! Don't be so flaming rude!
Slight overreaction, don't you think?
He ain't no mutt, alright. Toby's... how did they put it? Oh yeah, a bona fide detective.
Sorry?
I've given him a proper title and everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you.
More senior than Inspector Gregson. Oh, so he's a police dog. The police recruit dogs now. They're usually a little bigger, but I would love the idea of a policeman going to the scene with his dog and it was a chihuahua. I've heard they're already being used officially in Germany as part of their policing policy. They're used for chasing criminals and such like. They have a wonderful sense of smell after all. I have a fairly good sense of smell of myself as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered. Doc, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, that's nothing compared to this little fella, Oda.
Oh, really?
According to what the boss said, once Toby's got a good whiff of your drawers, he could chase that scent to the other side of the world.
What? To the other side? You mean he can swim?
You are such a fucking moron. God, I hate you sometimes.
I think you may have missed the point by a rather wide margin. I just can't believe this little dog has such incredible skill.
Oh, I'm telling you, Oda, there's not gonna be more and more dogs doing their bit for the police in future.
Yes, I agree.
Right, one of these days they'll be barking orders at us lot, not the other way round.
Oh dear, sorry Gina, I don't think I agree with your vision quite that much.
Well, anyway, whatever you think about it, Toby is Britain's first police dog. I found him down the East End the other day. Someone had just chucked him on the street.
There you go. I knew she'd lifted him from somewhere. Look, it's not really the same thing. Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals. Alright, well, this has all been very fascinating. Is there anything here to actually examine? We already looked at all of this, but... Here's the scorching on the ground you mentioned. Yes, and here's what's left of the green balloon. All the clear evidence of the balloon that exploded on the day. Poor Professor Hairbrain. I do feel sorry for him that his dreams have been shattered like this. Someone's well and truly burst his bubble, as it were. Ha 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 ha. Ouch. I'm a bad person. Yeah. Like, this is still the part I don't understand. Everybody's talking about how they dropped out of the sky, but like, it's broken in the side. What a shame that the symbolic landmark of the Great Exhibition has been damaged like that. Yeah, unfortunately, the birdcage crashed in the most prominent position possible. It's the gods give us a warning, if you ask me. Man must travel under his own steam and not cut corners with instantaneous kinesis. What an incredibly specific message we received. But imagine what might have happened if the birdcage had landed at a slightly different location. The death toll would have been far worse. So I think it was a blessing in disguise. Well, the guards are benevolent, obviously. I did say it was just a warning. Man must have Your faith is much stronger than I realized. Well, how do you think I passed the entrance exam for UMA University? It wasn't by studying alone. Oh. Alright, let's go see Strongheart. Who the fuck is this evil scientist? Oh, who's that standing beside Strongheart? I wonder. I've never seen her before. Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrambling to respond. Lord Von Zykes is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause you any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents investigation of the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. Scrap now, I mean, yes. Until later then, Lord Strongheart. Yes, thank you. Man, that guy sure was a supervillain, huh? Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney Scythe. Courtney Scythe? Whatever. Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. About asthma. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in her forensics laboratory. Ah, right. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. What exactly is the forensic investigation? What the fuck do you mean, what is the forensic investigation team? The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially, of course, to pave the way. Goodness, a year ago? At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. Again, you fucked up badly, dude. England's not great for this. I'm not kidding, I know no less than 5 people that got mugged in England, and I was one of them. I only knew about 5 people, so that's a 100% crime rate as far as I see it. What do you mean? For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. I intend to see to it personally, by creating the finest police force the world has ever known, to protect our honor and our future. I'm still sure you're gonna kill someone, but you know. Look at those eyes, he means every word. Dr. Scythe is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensic division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikatoba. Oh, yes, my lord? Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan. Yes, that's right. I understand he'll arrive at the beginning of next month. Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikatoba, I mean? It was many years ago now, but yes, I remember Dr. Mikatoba very well. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student. It was the year I was born, yes, 16 years ago in fact. Mikatoba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jigoku accompanied him as a young, promising judge. The and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in any way. I didn't think you were. Dr. Mikatoba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals. St. Sinners, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Scythe was also there, as it happens. I think I've pronounced it something different every time I've read her name. Then Dr. Scythe knows my father, does she? She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt they know each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikatoba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total. 6 years? That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it? If you're a doctor, I don't really think so. I lived with my grandmother in those years. So he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 years. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Oh. Perhaps father wanted a reason to get away. What do you mean? Why? Well, clearly something was going on. I wanted to ask you about Van Zykes, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who was targeted by nobles and royalty. Is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was that very incident that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint von Zykes, was murdered. It was just after young Barak had graduated from the University of London and become a prosecutor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing, rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that whatever Barak von Zykes went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind. Oh my word. So von Zykes isn't the Reaper, it's the ghost of his brother? That's a very weird way to phrase it then, isn't it? That they've been calling him the Reaper of the Bailey this whole time, but they weren't referring to him per se. This is very strange. Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. Oh yes, Lord Strongheart. Go ahead. It's about Harebrain's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains, if possible. Are you well versed in science, then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject. Well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Scythe's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage, as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look is better than nothing. And I'll be able to see it too. Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls. We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you are busy, my lord. I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Alright, let's go, lads. Oh yeah, we should talk to her first, shouldn't we? Probably. Oh yeah, look at, oh my god, look at this, oh yeah. Now, this is a fucking coroner's office. I believe this is it, Dr. Scythe's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose, and there's plenty to assault the eyes, too. It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think? What a seasoned tourist you've become. We could have a little look around.
Let's get snooping, boys.
That looks like an owl and a crow up there. I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here. Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Naruhodo. Ugh, I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Dardum doll in display in the office instead. Bony boy. Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. What is wrong with you? Western cabinet makers really are skilled, aren't they? Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton? Mrs. Sato, can't you tell I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? It's how I cope. I'll be sure to remember that. I suppose this is Scythe's desk. Ugh, I would not like to work in a place like this. It might help if she cleaned it every now and then. It's very... No, look! It's very tidy though, isn't it? Imagine how efficiently she must work. The lighting is poor, which is bad for the eyes, and the chemical smell can't be good for you. Not to mention the skeleton watching you as you work, which is definitely bad for the nerves. I don't know, personally, I'm close friends with many skeletons. They don't bother me at all. Well, yes, those are valid concerns. I can just about cope with a one-eyed Daradum doll. What's wrong with me? Daradum doll? Daruma doll. Watching over me. That's all. Look at all the bottles on the shelves and in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals. The ones here are labeled highly toxic. That's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers. Well, if you're eating in here, it's your own damn fault if you accidentally poison yourself. They actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. She must have meals here sometimes. Life goes on even when you're surrounded by death. Sorry, give me one moment. I am sipping. I've been talking for a while. Alright. Now Skype's beeping at me. I checked and it wasn't even important. God damn it. What else? Oh, I was like, is this a fucking gun? No, it's a drill. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it when you put them side by side they seem so disturbing? It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that's open on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can anybody concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals? You either have to have a cast iron constitution or a really terrible sense of smell, or you just get used to it. These large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquor. Oh, you are about to be very upset. Or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back at home. Father has jars like this in his laboratory as well. I expect they're human organs in a preserving solution, probably as examples of rare medical condition. Mr. Sato, there are some things in the world it's perfectly fine to never know about. Oh. So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liqueurs or umeboshi, aren't they? Of course. Fucking nerd, goddamn. What else? I mean, they wanted me to look around. Oh, the book is separate. Okay. Look at this big, thick book. It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... Well, one entry seems rather strange. In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. That's a lot of scalpels. 500? They must be working really hard. I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened, too. It seems a bit strange. You're right. 500 scalpels a month? What could they possibly be using all that for? That's one where I've genuinely got no fucking idea why you would ever need that. What are you doing? Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here. So you thought you'd snoop around instead? That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Oh, Lord Strongheart told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Aslan's body, I mean. So we came to ask you about your findings, on Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. Ah, nice and to the point. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from the examination of the scene? The victim, Dr. O.D. Osman, Mr. O.D. Osman, had disappeared from the experimental stage amid an explosion. And when Mr. Osman, who had appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. But that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate how it was carried out. Let's see, if two people who looked very similar were involved, they could have made it appear as if they had switched places, couldn't they? This is literally what the magician told us earlier, and I mean, yeah, obviously. Very true, but sadly in this instant, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day, they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It made the whole thing even more of a mystery. To be frank, just because they found his fingerprints on the stage doesn't really indicate to me that, what the fuck are you doing? That they were both there at the same time, but you know. Mama, what is this? Ah, where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear. Oh. Nice to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer, Ryunosuke Mama. Yes. Can I cut this one up, Mother? What? Oh, relax. I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. He's a live specimen. It's a live specimen, as you can clearly see. Boring. I think I just had a near-death experience. Oh dear, Naruhodo, you're pale as a corpse. Then let's leave before I'm mistaken as one. Is that really it? So, what are you doing at the moment, Doctor? Keeping a close eye on things so no impertinent Easterners think they can look around my office. Are there such impertinent Easterners around? How terrible. Yes, you. She doesn't mince her words. I think perhaps it's time we left. Alright. It's time to go to the scene. Hello, Gina. Goodbye, Gina.
Oi, that's off limits.
They're trying to sneak past me again and I'll stop. I'm not sneaking. I'm sneaking? Sneaking. We have the permission. God, I guess I'll talk to you. Gina. We were actually hoping we could investigate the scene.
Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like.
Oh, that's alright, is it? This is... Wait, this is the same. Can't go up there. That's the one. Actually, why did we need to go through the entire previous dialogue for that? Actually, we've just been to see Lord Strongheart.
You what? You met him? Last time the boss was called to go see him, he waited for 3 hours at the Co's office and came back sniveling.
Tragic. Well, Lord Strongheart has given us permission to examine the scene as long as we touch nothing.
Oh yeah?
Honestly.
Alright then, go ahead. But if it turns out you're lying, it'll be the boss who gets it. He'll never eat another chipping again in his life.
That would be tragic.
So, you're still saying this is all above board, right?
I'm sure everything will be fine. That really would be tragic.
Alright then, them's the stairs, off you go.
Oh, thank you, Gina.
Now let's go upstairs.
Oh my, so this is the machine. That was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place. Yes, that's right, or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment. What extraordinary lengths Professor Harebrain went to in order to obtain the research grant. No, the professor was tricked as well. He didn't know anything. Yes, of course. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The scale of the whole affair is so very British. What does that mean? You're right about that. You'd never see such a grand deception in Japan. What's wrong with you all? Anyway. Oh, look. Is that... Well, Lord Van Zykes? So I think we're more or less done here, aren't we? Already? He is the Reaper, remember? But we have permission to be here. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine as long as we don't touch anything. From the top, you mean Strongheart? Exactly! So we can stay and stare at his wreckage just for as long as we like. She could have been at the center of an explosion here. Alright, let's have a chat. How you doing, buddy? Ugh. Least approachable man in the world, winner. Be strong, Naruhodo. Your country and your assistant stand firm behind you. Lord Van Zykes. What? Well, beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? I thought I was making it quite clear that I didn't want to be disturbed. Apparently, you Nipponese are unequipped to read the signs. Oh, I read them. So, what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited. Ah, well. Lord Chief Strongheart gave us permission, on the condition we didn't disturb anything. And yet you've managed to disturb me. Ah! Never mind. State your business, then. Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask him about, yeah? Not least of which is that awful oh my god, I do not think he'll want to talk about this. Let's start with Drebber. Are the police trying to locate the engineer Drebber already? Surely that goes without saying. We're very keen to see him found as well. Trouble is, we don't have much to go on aside from the description of the man. Which, according to Professor Harebrain, was of a tall, thin gentleman who has straight white hair and wears a black monocle. So, I was just wondering, I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but we'd very much appreciate any more clues you can give us. Wow, Susato-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. Fine, why not? I have a photograph of the man from an investigation 10 years ago. Though it appears he already had the black monocle at the time. What? Oh, no, nothing. I was just surprised that you shared that with us. We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why wouldn't I show you the photograph? What is it about Von Zykes? Sometimes I just can't work him out at all. Let's have a little gander at that. Nothing immediately stood out to me, but... He's got a D-pad on his lapel, that's interesting, but otherwise, no. So, Clint, was the name of your older brother, I understand. You Nipponese. I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So, you've been investigating me, have you? Oh, no, it's nothing like that. Well, just a bit. My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Von Zykes family. But tragically, A vicious killer took him from us. The professor, you mean? Is something funny? That's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry, there's more to it. Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it? Ugh, you're too kind. Are you going to tar all Nipponese? Yes, he's done this multiple times, I feel. So tell me, what's your interest in that historic incident? As it happens, Von Sykes, there's a rather curious case that's come to our attention. Are you aware of the Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxwork? I am, naturally. I believe that since last month I feature in one of the displays there for public scorn. Of course, the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would be exhibited. Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen and held for ransom. A particular waxwork? Which... wait, you mean... Yes, it's the professor. Sholmes is investigating the case as we speak. I was unaware of that. He's turned as white as a sheet. He's already pretty pale. Hey, Cosma. Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Thank you. Are you alright? Who is this man, Naruhodo? Lord Von Zyke's apprentice, apparently. So I'm not the only one. Susato-san can see it too. Hello, my son. Have you come to investigate with us? Or have you come just to come and then leave immediately? Yep, he's a cat. There he goes, alright. Lord Von Zykes, may we speak with your apprentice for a moment? With him? Why? There he goes. Kazuma-sama! Kazuma. I don't believe it. I do. Does he, have amnesia? That would be a nice one, wouldn't it? It can only be... It's you, isn't it, Kazuma-sama? I felt something strange the first time I encountered this cloaked figure, as if I knew him. Can it really be you, Kazuma? There we go. But wait! Too late. What's going on here? What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know that man or something. Well, since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you having an apprentice before I left Britain. Lord Strongheart introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor. But he didn't tell you why, did he? The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. How about that? He's forgotten every last detail about himself. He has amnesia? Tomorrow he will appear in court at my side. What? He's to serve as my judicial assistant on Lord Strongheart's orders. He'll be in court with us? Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course. Oh, yes, thank you. I definitely saw a reaction there. Now here's the question, is he got amnesia because he was injured, or has he been, like, brainwashed or something? When Sosato-san called out like that, it really seemed to hit a nerve, when she called out Kazuma-sama. Hi, thanks, bro. Let's have a gander. That's not actually anything? Damn, that was the first thing I saw. What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders have been buckled and twisted in the blast. And what they call the birdcage was right here in the middle of it all, just here. But look, Mr. Naruhodo, that metal grill on the floor. Looks as though it's been designed to open. It does, doesn't it? Trap door. If the floor had opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred, the birdcage would have dropped through and disappeared from sight. I don't think there's any doubt that there's a very elaborate hoax, is there? This it wasn't? Really? But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cage in which the victim was standing before he was apparently beamed. That's right, the bird cage, according to what Professor Harebrain said in court, is made of wood. Or more precisely, Japanese cypress, I think? And despite being an explosion and them falling from a great height, it's relatively unharmed. What wonderfully durable construction, wouldn't you say, Naruhodo? I'd understood the forensic investigation team had taken it away yesterday to examine it. I suppose they must have brought it back here when they finished their work. Or this is the second cage, but sadly not with the body inside. Sadly? No, that's right. I know we were given strict instructions not to touch, but still, this is too important of okay. Alright, let me just stick that bad boy in my pocket, no one will notice. You'd already met that masked man, hadn't you, Naruhodo? Yes, yesterday, in fact, at Lord Van Zykes' office. I see. And if Kazuma-sama really still is alive, it means that Sholmes lied to us. I know. We already know this, though, don't we? I thought this was fairly obvious. You're going to have to leave now. The forensic investigation team are due to arrive shortly. If they find you here, it will cause problems. What sort of problems? Foreign affairs problems. Well, we could do without that. Alright, we'll be on our way. Let's go, Mr. Sato. Of course. Alright, well, do we have anything to say over here? We do. Gina. Oh my fucking gosh. Yeah, it was exactly as uninteresting as I thought it might be. Sholmes, are you here yet? Sholmes. Fuck. Stop that. Give me my arrow back. Sholmes. Sholmes. Is he behind the curtain? The curtains. Look, I just want to know if Sholmes is behind there. Okay, I don't need to see no, fucking pontificating about the curtains. So, is he home? No, I guess. Because usually the title goes across. Alright, if he's not, maybe we should go to the prison. Oh my god. What the fuck are you doing? What's he doing? He's... oh my, the whole wall of the cell is covered in equations. And he's still writing more. Professor, sorry to interrupt.
Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, and who is this young lady?
My name is Sasato Mikotoba. I'm Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor.
Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner.
Oh, God.
None of this would have happened. No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all.
Oh, dear, I'm sorry if my presence upsets you. Do not apologize for the incels. I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I'd promised you in court.
Oh, no. The whole thing, the whole miserable affair. It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter clot.
You are not wrong. Professor Harebrain. What have you been working on?
Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see, and I simply had to write it down. The wall was all I had.
Oh, is it a new hypothesis? Something to suppress super high voltage instantaneous kinesis?
Ah, no, actually, this is my autobiography.
Pardon me?
How I was diddled and fiddled by Dr. Albert Harebrain. I've found I can represent my odd fortunes with only odd numbers in an ambitious set of simultaneous equations.
Really?
I'm going to have to pay back all those loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new special publication from next month. Part 1, an odd birth and an odd upbringing.
You can't beat the man's optimism. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more?
Oh, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was diddled, I was fiddled, by the pair of them. By Mr. Asman, by that aloof engineer Drebber.
We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of the equations, are we?
Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Asman, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even.
I'm sorry it's come to this. There was really no other way.
No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting. It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public.
No, of course you didn't. But in court this morning,
I realized something. If you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you were aware of it or not.
I disagree.
Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me.
I disagree with this hypothesis of yours. If you got scammed, it's the fault of the scammer, not the scammy.
He believed in me this morning, you know. Barrack did. He believed in my hypothesis.
I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case.
No. Barrack wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely...
I disagree. Did he? I think he wanted him to admit it himself.
I think I understand now. Why it was that he decided to take the prosecution on my trial, I mean. After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not my lawyers, even. Not even lawyers.
I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there.
So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barrack, I'm sure the hypothesis would have been declared the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense.
And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself.
Exactly, which would have been a fate worse than death for me. But Barrack insisted that I was a man of science from start to finish.
You think that's why he...
I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul.
But that extremely kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer. That is his job.
Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it.
And what about the whole Reaper thing? How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul? Start.
Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start?
I'm sorry to say, but that does seem likely, yes.
When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused, he was so empathic.
But in reality, he was the mastermind of some sort of criminal network, it seems.
I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic, it probably didn't require a larger amount of investment, actually. But the scale of it wasn't just some trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception. It does make you wonder why they decided to do this exactly. If they wanted to scam some money, surely there would have been more simple ways to do it.
All young scientists are so full of hope with their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. But none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try and earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go through all of that, only to be taken for a complete fool, is too rotten to be believed.
It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Asman is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer, Enoch Drebber. He is an engineer, or a magician. Is he, or a swindler?
It was about a year ago when Mr. Asman brought Drebber to meet me at my laboratory. Since then, I've met him many times.
Hello again, my son.
To discuss details about the kinesis machine.
Are you going to be a cat and immediately leave again? Sir? Sir, are you aware you're a cat? Okay, good talk. But at no point did you have any inkling that he was just an illusionist?
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He has a wealth of scientific knowledge. There's no question that man's genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in conversation.
I see. He also presumably had to build the thing, you know? But the wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. And there are no more clues you can give us to his whereabouts?
I'm sorry. We only ever discussed the kinesis machine. Nothing else.
Oh. Although, just once...
I did visit his workshop.
Which workshop?
Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructed my great machine.
Why didn't you mention this before? Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's every chance we might find the man there. This is an odd thing to leave out. So you've been to Drebber's place of work?
Yes, just once, you understand. It was an enormous place, plenty of room to construct the kinesis machine.
Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance we'll find Drebber there.
Well, yes, definitely, I'm sure. As in, I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this. But I have absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all. I'm so sorry.
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there.
Yet that didn't concern you even slightly, huh? That didn't strike you as being slightly suspicious. He blindfolded you? He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place was incredible. The pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was the very best. A special French machine with oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Ah, the indescribable scent of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should forget their secret formulae and use that instead.
What do you think, Susato? Eau de machine for your next birthday? I've never used any kind of perfume Narahudo, and I'm sure not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you know even part of the workshop's address. You don't have a business card from Drebber, for example. The man was clearly very cautious.
Ah, I do. He gave me his business card once. It's right here. Look.
What? Let me see that. Throw etiquette to the wind, why don't you? Enoch Drebber, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address. Well, what is that? What is this part then? Can't say I'm surprised. Still, this could be useful. You're telling me there's nothing on it? Oh, we didn't look at that, did we? Oh, it's just his signature. There's his little D-pad, but, you know, what's that? Ooh! This dark smudge here. I think perhaps it's machine oil. Ah, yes, possibly. Professor Hairbrain mentioned something about the oil Drebber uses, didn't he? Said it was specially imported, very high quality. Yes, that's right. But more importantly, that it's more fragrant than the finest perfume, so excuse me a moment. Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all. Don't worry, I expect that's just because there's such a tiny amount on here. We will have to consult Toby about this. Alright. Well, this bad boy's pretty cracked down here. Ah, look here, Mrs. Sato. Ah, yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little, I suppose because it fell from such a height? Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying down to the tower below, a fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters, leaving the man inside tragically dead. It's a little weird that it only broke on that side, though, isn't it? Nothing else? Alright. Well. We have to go consult Toby. I was just thinking about the oil, but he might be able to lead us to the location, actually, mightn't he? Gina, this is of the utmost importance. Oh, sorry, oops. About this, Gina, I'm a genius.
Yeah, I'm still learning me letters at the moment. I only know A to E, if that ain't too much bleeding trouble.
Ah, yes. Actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important.
Eh? How come? There's a dirty old smudge back here, that's all.
It turns out this is very high-quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent.
You don't say. Let's have a whiff, then. You sure? I don't smell nothing.
No, we didn't mean you should smell it.
Oh, right, you mean Toby.
His sense of smell is so good he can track people over the oceans, can't he? Professor Hairbrain informs us this oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop.
What you got, Toby? Come on, yeah.
I think he's picked up a scent.
So you mean, if he follows this here oil, Toby could leave us to that dodgy cove's workshop?
That's right, that's exactly what we're hoping.
Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that.
What? Wait, when did you?
If I can lead everyone to that Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week.
Oh, yes, Gina. I'm sure you'll be promoted. Poor Gregson.
Right then, Odo. Leave it to me. Sorry, we're gonna get going after that dodgy engineer cove right this minute. Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty.
I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigations.
Oh, right. Well, never mind. If it ain't gonna be me boss. It ain't gonna be me what gets it in the neck. It'll be the boss.
Poor Gregson.
Ready, Toby? Got that oil sent out of you? Come on then, boy. See you later.
Are we not going to go with her? I do hope the scent of the oil leads them to that swindler's workshop. I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can do here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Drebber, I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss and I'm dying to meet him again. Yes, it's possible he might know something useful. We ought to find him in Madame Tuspel's. Yes, Iris told me all about his latest unusual venture. Alright, let's fucking go. Here we are again, at the House of Horrors. I'm afraid I haven't gotten used to the place yet. I'd still like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery. So Sato-san really is after something sweet, isn't she? Eek! What's the matter? Look at that waxwork. I'm quite sure it wasn't there before. It looks exactly like Sholmes, down to the very last detail. Ah, what is it? Oh, sorry, I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself. Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee. Oh yes, hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I must say I am quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs. You don't mean... But yes, the mystery is solved already. Wow, Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough. So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duties. Yes. His habitual duties. Alors, do not disturb. Poor Susato, she looks very perplexed. Just let me talk to the man. We really do need to speak with Sholmes. I'm longing to say hello, but where is he? I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually. Oh, what do you... Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I. The world-famous great detective and waxwork, Sherlock Holmes. Sasato. Sasato. I'm still disappointed we're not going to arrest Jack the Ripper. My most humble apologies. I thought I'd died and gone to eternal paradise via London. My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point, as long as it's not of questionable street food quality. I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork? Merely a secret identity, you understand, though the case is largely solved now. Largely solved? We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume. Indeed we are, my good fellows. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess I am yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today for that matter. That stomach rumble echoed the whole museum. So how did you manage to solve it so quickly? Well, do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone? Oh yes, it's the most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected. This morning, a telephone call was received here from the proprietor of the abduction. The perpetrator, not the proprietor. What the fuck? As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. That's amazing. Just between you and I. It would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork. Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible demanded a ransom. Yes, I think perhaps the ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive. But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary? A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tuspells at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all. Poor Iris. Now then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork? We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh? Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Hairbrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine. A swindler and an engineer? Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really need to locate him before the trial resumes. But we have so few clues, that's the trouble. Do you have any ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance at least, I may be in a better position to help. Yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts on it. First, though, Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? My dear Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about? Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the steamship. Your words were very clear. So then, let us unravel this mystery, and discover what events led to this curious murder. You told us that it was murder, and you examined Cosmo's body. Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today, the victim. You're quite sure? He was wearing some sort of mask, and apparently was suffering from amnesia, but yes, I'm quite sure it was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead. Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. But the fellow wasn't dead at all. Priceless. I don't suppose that performance would pass murder, would it? Pass muster. I could believe the crewman present at the time made a mistake, but not you, Sholmes. Sholmes has never made a mistake. I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Sholmes. Tomorrow in court you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say. Alright, well. Here, have a gander at this boy's face. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? It's of Enoch Drebber, the face of the engineer we seek. Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course, so looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you all right, Sholmes? Ah, yes, forgive me. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed. What's wrong, Sholmes? You've turned quite pale. I have a suggestion, Naruhodo. Will you indulge me? Oh, what is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned, and I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains. Yes, the Professor exhibit, wasn't it? Would you like to see it for a mere 5 shillings? That's a special one-time only price, you understand. What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of my labor? Is he going to look exactly like the guy? Well, do we have a rather pressing investigation to carry out? Could we postpone? The price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you quite serious, Sholmes? Surely you need only look at my expression to ascertain if this is serious or silliness. I can never tell with you. Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings. Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure. Well, the money's been spent, so let's go see. These curtains are heavy. Oh, come on, just open the damn thick boys. 5 shillings we've had to pay. It doesn't seem right that Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does it? No. Ah, we could ask Gina to retrieve it for us. Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes Britain great? Not to mention demigod pros. Yes, dog, relax. Inspector Gregson comes off as rather well in that list, I think. Oh, no. Oh, dear. I felt a shiver run down my spine as soon as we walked in. Miss Sosato, I say we turn on our heels and go straight home via a really big confectionery. We certainly can't do that. We've paid 5 shillings. I love this owl. True. Actually, now I'm looking a little more closely. What do you mean, looking a little more closely? I don't know how you needed to see this more closely to understand something was wrong. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place. This must be what Sholmes meant when he said it was largely solved. Be that as it may, Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer, but where? Since we paid 5 shillings, let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation. We will get what we paid for. Is that fear or frustration? Alright, let's have a gander at this boy. This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real. Seems to be a young man in a white overcoat. And he has a large shovel in his hand, too. Oh, is there something on the shadow? Or on the shovel? Shadow. Perhaps we should investigate in more detail. Well, I don't know why I'm trying to bend it down like that. Oh, the cane. No, the cane, the shovel. What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth was the man doing with a shovel in the graveyard at this middle of the night? Mr. Sato. Yes. That's a spade, isn't it? No, it's a shovel. No. Shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. We've been through this, Naruhodo. It's a shovel. No. Although, we haven't considered trowels. We've allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was okay. You're right, though. What was the man doing in the graveyard? That's the real question. I'm probably grave robbing, you know? What's this here? Oh, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera. A camera? But it's so small! British technology is incredible. I think perhaps you should treat Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera? I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost? We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think. But by looking at the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what was taken. What's a photographic plate? It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to light coming through the lens. If we open the cover at the back of the camera, we should find it. You should see yourself. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery. I can't look here. Back up. Yeah, it looks like there's something else to find on him since he's still glowing. Oh look, the cover came open. Yes, now, there should be a glass plate. You have to change the plate with each photograph you want to take, you see. Is something wrong? There is no plate. It's been removed. Ah, what a pity. But I suppose if you think about it, this would be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the wax wouldn't be the actual camera, just like the waxwork isn't the actual person. She'd never found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life. Oh yes, you're quite right, of course. She looks devastated. Nothing else about it then? Oh shit! You really love contraptions like this. Oh yes, anything mechanical I find absolutely irresistible. Almost irresistible, surely. Well, whenever I see a pocket watch, for example, I can't help myself. I have to take it apart. That's worrying. Yes, Father tells the time by the rumblings of his stomach now. He's given up on having a watch. Poor Professor Mikotoba. Look, Naruhodo. What is it? On the bellows, just here, there seems to be some dark red stains. Yes, you're right. It looks like blood, actually. Oh my. I'm sure it's not what you're thinking. Nothing else? Alright. Did we find everything on the boy? Let me in. Like, the fact I can't go up or down any is quite upsetting. Candle. That's quite a large lamp the man's carrying. Or maybe it's a lantern. It's not unlike a Japanese chochin paper lantern, is it? Lamp, lantern, chochin. The point is, it casts very little light to be walking alone in the graveyard. Well, I certainly couldn't do it. I'm not sure I could visit a graveyard at all, even in broad daylight. What a fucking dweeb. Alright, we good here? Oh. I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just... Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits? I'll put it back exactly. What, y'all gotta do this? Alright. You could just, like, stand up a little, probably, but whatever. Oh, how about that? Ah! What on earth? How can... I don't believe it! A black monocle. Naruhodo, is it possible this man is... Yes. It's Enoch Drebber. That's why he's got white hair now, is it? Got scared by the ghost? The color of his hair is different, but it's unmistakably him. Indeed it is. Sholmes. This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe. Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he in this exhibit? And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So that's the case isn't solved yet, is it? Did I not say so myself? Largely solved with my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head tout de suite, or so as Madam would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry Iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations. Ah. Do you know, though, something about this room is strange. Strange? What do you mean? Well, the displays in the House of Horror are supposed to depict real events, aren't they? Indeed they are. Do go on. And as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely couldn't have really ever happened, could it? I mean, it could if the man in the grave wasn't dead at the time. I think it's time I educated you a little. About the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago. Finally. I believe I told you a little about the professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, every one being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. Oh gosh, an enormous hound. How awful. After taking the life of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand. Accordingly, the professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted. A closed court. So you mean the professor's identity? As you've surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at the Lowgate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison. However, that was not the end of the affair. Oh. The very night he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. Came back to life? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene, as described by the sole witness to those chilling events. There was a witness? But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat. Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen. That's why he's got white hair, dog. Come on. Sorry, I'm sipping again. Tell us more, Sholmes. So this is a waxwork model of Enoch. 10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave in the middle of the night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old. It's so horrifying. Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight. Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him. For the following few days, the story of what he'd seen was on every front page in the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here at Madame Tuspel's. I can understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Drebber was doing in the first place, in such a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night. Yes, what was he up to? The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever been systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder. Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlor tale. But why did people stop believing it? Why, simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as was established in fact. What do you mean by no resurrection? The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution. No, but that would mean Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police and newspapers? That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society, and nothing has been heard of him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think? Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life, that's not possible. But Drebber's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. Yeah, he probably just didn't know. This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor. Yes, I think so, according to what Madame Tuspel said. He killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood. The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Except for the missing head, but you know. I know. It looks like it could start moving at any moment. Oh, excuse me. If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in more detail. You want me to just look at the fucking hole? Alright. So this is the condemned man. Yes, the so-called professor. Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine. But unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a headless ghost. Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas? Anyway, I'm sure the model had a head. There's a metal fitting for it. Then perhaps Sholmes absent-mindedly forgot. Yeah, they expected me to look at this first, but I was like, that model's Drebber. Or perhaps the thief absent-mindedly forgot to include the head. And that would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there be some reason why the head wasn't returned? Well, for whatever the reason. It means we don't know what the face of the infamous killer looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. It's a piece of broken glass. And it's quite a big piece. It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal window glazing. Where could such a thick sheet of glass have come from? I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength. But why? Well, because, you see, it's from the Crystal Tower. Perhaps the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as in a big building. Ah, well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass was broken. You don't mean... Exactly, the Crystal Tower. But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged? I can't imagine. It makes you think, doesn't it? Earlier in court, we established the kinesis experiment was a trick, and now we discover this fragment of glass here in the waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? No, obviously not. Nothing else? Alright.
What the bleeding Nora Outer? What have you gone and done?
Gina, what are you doing here?
Oh, asked Iris, and she said this is where you'd be. So,
Gina? Well, not so loud. Madame Tuspels will have you take a position as a waxwork if you're not careful. I think there might be a more pressing concern.
I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so...
Alright, Gina, we understand, but please put down the gun.
Sorry, I got scared.
You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So what brings you here, Gina?
What brings me here? What you think? We found him. We found that dodgy cove's workshop.
What? You found Drebber's workshop?
Yep. Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now on a drag, so come on. Here's the address. I got the boss to write it out.
Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once.
Alright then, see you there. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still.
What?
I know my place in the exhibit over there.
Oh dear, someone is feeling sorry for himself. Let's go, Sholmes. You're coming.
Your words hearten me, I must say, but if I were to shirk my duties here, Madam would have me pay monetary recompense, and Iris's dinner...
Roger that, I'll pay for everything. Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail a carriage at once. No offer to share the cost from Sholmes, then. I shall gladly pay half. Thank you, Sasato. Let's go. Let's make a move, lads.